Are we in, Jen?
Bang, bang. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Spill with myself, Lucas Jones, and
Shean Williams.
nice to see you. Thank you, first of all. Whoa. Whoa. Things kind of blew up. Thank you for everyone that's been recently getting involved in our stuff and enjoying our content and sharing and commenting. And we have some crazy, beautiful messages that we've been sending back and forth. Like, brother, is this happening?
They've actually been killing me, and I mean that in the nicest possible way. And most of you will probably kind of surmise this from our dynamic and stuff, but we really are kind of trying to do something that is organic. Like our USP, we always said this, our USP is authentication. That the listener will decide whether these guys are 100% or they are full of the biggest amount of genetically modified baloney. Luke's. And we said we'd live and die by that.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
100%, man.
And I want to tell the story about you setting up the TikTok because it's powerful. And what you don't know is 5 days before that, I was at my barber's, big up Donny Baresi, A2D. And Don's was just like, bro, you know what? You'd be sick on TikTok, you know?
Oh, really?
Yeah. But Luke's, as you know, I teach as well, and I'm so sick of telling my students to give me their phone and come off TikTok and them things. It's ruining your mind. Get away from it. So I just kind of dismissed them. It's like, yeah, cool, Donny, just don't mash up man's hairline, innit? Wicked. Keep focused.
Watch that fade, bro. I'm trying to hear about TikTok right now.
You're so silly. Then you hit me like 5 days later and you're like, broski, just so you know, like, I've set us up a TikTok account and, you know, I think it'd be cool. And Lucas, I remember just being like, cool, yeah, wicked, yeah, do your thing, Lucas. Whatever happens, happens. Because in my head, I'm like, mate, it's YouTube, it's Spotify. Bro.
Do you know what's crazy though? So for anyone that is only just hearing about us now or listening to this now, essentially what happened was we dropped a video on TikTok, it just blew crazy, hit like 1 million views almost straight away, and then we've been inundated since with just the craziest. I keep feeling the urge to look at the camera now. There's 3 of them. It's like, well, everyone's in the room with us.
There's way too much machinery. Like,
way too much.
We had one good video. All of a sudden, damn machinery's in here. We got lights.
15 crew, man.
Mate, it's crazy.
Bro, shout out to Jam as well behind the camera. Jam, I'm gonna tag him right here.
Come on.
Big love. Anyways, so I was like reluctant to even start a TikTok because I'm gonna be real honest. I had the idea that it was like for kids.
Yes.
And I don't mean that even disrespectfully.
No.
Because the kids know what they're talking about, and
But
the kids
we're
are
grown.
But yeah,
what the heck are we doing on TikTok?
I thought it was all TikTok dances and challenges, and I was like, listen,
ain't nobody got time for
I'm
that.
actually an artist, so you know what I mean? And then jumped on, and there's like a beautiful community of. Well, firstly, the comment section is the most loving, expressive, open dynamic I've ever seen in any social media platform ever.
Well, we'll talk about that because I ain't even. Luke is running the account, people. I ain't even there like that. But what he says,
I've been sending the highlights,
bro,
and I got the notifications off because I know what I'm like, bro. It's so tempting to keep refreshing that page, bro. But
can I be honest? Like, and we will break this down.
Yeah.
Guys, what a lot of you don't realize is when you were engaging with the video and it was just doing what it was doing. Lucas is fully on set in Bulgaria shooting.
It was the perfect dynamic.
You say that, but me on set doing my job and then my phone overheating and having 1 million notifications in the space of like 10 days.
But literally 1 million. Bro, so I was sat and I had a long day. I was shooting a job and I was on harnesses all day, doing loads of wire work in the air. So I was tired, man.
I was doing this Spider-Man thing.
I was
love that
all up in my
so
Peter
much.
Parker, bro.
I love that. And there's my guy holding the rope at the back. I was just like, no, stay on the floor, player.
Shouts to the stunt team in Boyana. Whoa. I'll come back to that. But yeah, anyway, so I was up in the, there's this beautiful hotel, man. It's a beautiful job. I was in Bulgaria for like 9 days. And I was in this like Sky Bar restaurant. And I was like, I'm sitting there, I'm tired, and I'm like kind of ready for bed. And I'm scrolling through Instagram and I see someone tag you in something. I was like, TikTok? That's not TikTok, what are you talking about? So I was like, wait. And I had notifications off on TikTok because I obviously didn't want to, I didn't really want my phone to be blunt like that. And I didn't really pay much, I hadn't logged in for like 3 days. I just left it. And then phone started popping. And I was like, bro, you seen this? And I rushed down to the hotel room and I FaceTimed you straight and I was like, bro, this video's kind of going, bro. And it, like, what's so beautiful about it is it's not just that, like, it's one thing to have like a viral TikTok video. That's one thing. That feels good. I release some endorphins and serotonin, and you're like, oh, cool, I'm validated. But people have been following through and listening to the whole, not the whole episode of that one, the entire series, 9 episodes so far. and reaching out and being like, thank you so much. It's been like, we cannot express to you how much that means to us, because all we ever intend to do with this was just open a dialogue about how we feel about some stuff and what we've been through, and to create that space for people to get involved in the conversation. I don't want it to ever sound like we're being like, here's the keys to life and you need to do.
How can we have the keys to something we ain't complete?
I don't know what's going on.
We haven't even got like halfway through, Lucas. Do you know what I mean? So there is no keys. There's only, this is what I discovered, this is what I learned, this is what I proved through these checkpoints.
Yeah.
The one thing we've always said, and we've taught together and done many things together, and I always say to my students, hold everything that I say in suspicion until you go and prove this for yourself. Do you understand? Because until you have that experience, it does not become real to you. Yeah. It doesn't become real. And I said to someone who was, they were sharing with me about what they'd seen with the TikTok and stuff. And they're like, because TikTok's great for that. I had a friend that, she was doing these dances and da-da-da-da. And she's like, she puts a hood on and she does. And I said, no, that's amazing. That's amazing. I said, but what we're doing isn't that. Like, I'm not doing something that's entertaining to pull you out of a moment. I'm bringing, or we're talking about what really scares you and asking you, are you brave enough to deal with the reality of that? Are you brave enough to talk about the things that you've buried quite deep because in that moment it was really painful? And the reality is, if you ask most people, from kind of just, what I hear, toothache is terrible. Like proper toothache, it's terrible.
Oh, it's one of the worst pains I've had.
I've seen my older brother, bless him, like deal with toothache. And sometimes he's looked at me like someone just put me out my misery, like knock me out now. So then, do you understand what I'm saying? So when you've kind of got that pain and you've got it anesthetized over here, the last thing you're trying to do is to run a little, sensitivity through that little pain canal there. You're like, no, leave that alone.
Yeah, yeah.
And for people to kind of be so cool in terms of, dude, some of the comments, people's childhoods, their experiences, their desire to want to try again and to fight again.
Yeah, man.
And sometimes, Lucas, when you'd send me little screenshots and stuff, I'd sit there and I'd just be like, it's too much. I actually, like, there was a couple of times where, this is going to sound crazy, I was like, I'm going to stop this. Like, this is too much.
So I'm getting off the train.
Let me off now. I don't want to go. Please don't make me go. Because it was, it put the question and it put the ball back in my court and was just like, then if, when you play poker and they go, right, I match you and I raise you, and then like, they've matched us. So we're now going, like, we got to raise it again.
Shit, I got my wallet on me. Yeah, bro, 100%. No, I hear, yeah, man. I want, like, what you were saying about people trying. Yeah. I think the thing that's been the most revealing thing about this entire last couple of weeks, and the level of openness and public therapy people are trying to seek, is that it feels like, I think, on social media at the moment, there's a real, to look at it from my perspective before this experience we're going through, it felt like people are becoming more disconnected from purpose seeking and healing and trying to be open. It feels like we're sort of falling into a strange space of completely numbing ourselves with media constantly and and it's not that. That's not what's happening at all. I've realized people are desperate for any opportunity to be like, I want to understand what's happening. I want to speak my soul. I want to speak about the traumas I've been through and share that with everyone. And it's actually given me it's really flipped my perspective on social media, because this is a good thing. It's a good thing that's happening. I don't mean that in a like that self-validation way for us. I mean that in a way of like the reading through the comments and how humbling it is a good thing. There's nothing vapid about that. And that's been a beautiful thing. So I genuinely thank you to everyone who's been reaching out on that basis. I want to talk about trying. That thing you said about people trying, like, and enduring and how we can get through the craziness of the world right now. It feels like there's an elephant in the room, that there's a war going on. And we spoke about this yesterday and we were like, do we want to address that there's a war going on? Because I'm not qualified to delve into the specifics of that complication.
And do you know why I think you said that? Because a lot of the time when we talk about issues that are hard, we try and justify our right to speak about it by having all of the information. And you can only control what's within your control. So by and large, that's us. So I can't speak for Vlad Vader and what his manifesto is.
Yeah.
Even though the fruit of his action tells me what's going on in his heart. So if nature predicates culture, culture sets standards, and standards execute protocol, I understand that the nature that is residing within his heart, that is sitting on the consciousness of his soul, has nothing to do with love, joy, peace, patience to endurance, gentleness, goodness, meekness, faith, or self-control, which is temperance. None of it.
None of it.
Which means that you are trying to breed a culture that is intrinsically toxic. Now, that's your choice. Because the one thing we all have that cannot be violated is choice. But that then brings into sharp focus my choice.
How you want to respond to that in the world. What do you put back into the water?
And so what we are now faced with is the reality of us. And the biggest fight that we all will face in our life, Lucas, is against the person in the mirror, because they are the enemy that lies behind the walls. They know your fears, your doubts, your strengths, your comforts. And that's the enemy that knows your whole artillery. Do you understand?
Completely.
On every level of a war that you can have with yourself, that's the enemy that knows the key and the answer. So then that means that enemy is an enemy you fight on the basis of will. Which is why I said I was so humbled, because it was the trying. It was, imagine a boxer, and Jam, you love fighting, not like that, but in terms of God,
yeah, man,
man's always in a tick.
He's always like, I'm a bit nervous that he's here actually, but I was going to mention Jam.
It's the hardest thing is when you see a person, and you boys were talking about it, because in the basis of the production you were doing for that guy who was kind of putting on charity fights and stuff, but you saw like halfway through the first show, just like, we actually have to come out of this because the right things aren't in place for people to be safe.
People getting hurt.
So imagine you get knocked out. They bring you back round, and then you go, put me back in.
Yeah.
That's how those comments hit me. Because these are people that have been laid out.
Oh my Lord.
Lucas, eyes roll in the back of their head, don't know where they are. And a little smelling salts come in, and they're like, where am I? And they're like, okay, cool. You've just been knocked out.
Yeah.
It's okay. Can you tell me what your name is? They can't even tell you what their name is, but they're like, let me go back and fight.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why I was so humbled by it, because we can sit here and go, okay, our USP is authenticity, and you know, we want people to decide whether it's, but when it goes past that and it reignites the spark to try to fight, their will comes back.
That's something I wanted us to sort of maybe try and connect.
Yeah.
In the, like, a lot of the comments. So we posted a video, and at first it was hard to give the full context of the conversation that comes before and after those moments, because it's a 1 minute video, as is the problem with social media, I suppose. And that what's missed in that context is sometimes the nuance that would answer the criticisms that might come towards you. If you know what I'm saying? So, like
when you've got an hour's conversation and you put 60 seconds
words
in, and then a person thinks that the 60 seconds is the base of it, and you really want to go, I hear you, but if you listen to the whole thing,
I've been trying to do that, and not even in a way of like, click the link in our bio, but like, no, for real, like, click the link in our bio so you can actually, you get the context and the nuance of what we're talking about.
But we love you too, 60-second people. It's all good.
Really do. But it brings up some interesting conversation, because a lot of the ones, so for example, we posted a video about forgiving parents.
Yeah.
Now, we weren't talking about abusive parents. We were talking about, like,
my dad phoned me. It was like,
son?
Is something happened I don't know about? I'm like, Pop, listen, And I said to my dad, I said, Dad, you listen to the whole thing? He said, what, the video? I go, yeah, the
hour-long one.
podcast.
Yeah.
He said, no, I just saw that. I said, Dad, go listen to the whole.
I had to text my dad as well because I was like, I was actually bigging you up the whole way through, and I just wanted to make sure. But what was so interesting is that people will see that 6 seconds and completely respectfully, rightfully so, will be like, well, you don't know what my parents did to me. And that is an incredibly interesting thing for us to talk about. Because at what point do you have to say, whatever's happened to me in my past, whatever's happened, I have to get up. I have to try. Because so many of us carry our traumas around and we add them and we have this huge bag on our backs for our entire lives. And we never release the idea. And this is the thing, a lot of the comments said this beautifully, like, it's not about accountability is important. It's not about acceptance of that accountability from that person. It's about you accepting what happened and that you now cannot change that. No. You can't go back in time and change that. What you can do is move forward. That's all you can do. And if you don't do that, you lose your life and the enemy wins because you stay trapped in that cycle of anger and bitterness and hatred your entire life. And people will still hear that and be like, but you don't know what happened to me. And they're right, man. I don't like what I would consider to be the greatest traumas of my life. And I would think that they're noteworthy for myself. Some people, there'd always be people who've been through a far, far harder time. And it's hard to speak to that and be like, I can't say that if I'd been through that, I'd be able to get up. And I thought maybe we could talk about that a little bit.
They were some of the hardest, what's the one I'm looking for? Interactions to deal with. Because, and do you know what? This is going to sound weird. It was also quite nice in a self-awareness way at the same time because I realized we're still human. When you read those messages and for that split second, you're like, oh my gosh, this person thinks I don't care about what's happened to them. And you got that kind of, that intense feeling of like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then you went there, you're like, calm down. Like, this is a comment and a statement someone's put. But well done for keeping humanity. That's nice. Because sometimes I think we have a surface level of humanity that we have to look like we care. But as long as we look like we care, we don't really have to
do anything. You can just sort of say the stuff.
Yeah. And I agree with you completely. I think that there is that level of empathy with a person's pain is what opens the platform and the conversation. And that's what, if anything, I loved about the comment section, that it's not divisive. Do you understand? Because I've seen people disagree and it get really nasty.
But it's disagreeing. It's not arguing. It's not that sort of left and right political thing. It's like, well, I think this. What do you think?
And that's the thing. I'm not telling you this is what truth is. This is what you should think. There's no room for maneuver or for interaction or converse. So when you have that, then what I saw was testimony and counter testimony. I grew up and within my cultural surroundings and settings, a statement that was often made is that we overcome by the word of our testimony.
Ooh, unpack that, please.
Okay, so if you overcome by the word of your testimony, it means that you release the thing that you thought you were going to lose to, and you speak about the process, because by speaking about the process, that allows you to not only overcome it, but it allows someone else to understand what to look for in the initial stage so that they don't have to necessarily go through the same process you go through. Now, the reason why overcoming by the word of our testimony is what I'd call a more abstract form of conversation is because we don't overcome, because we've now moved towards the focus of coping mechanisms. So if I'm coping, I'm not overcoming, because coping means that I do enough to survive. Makes sense? So coping is the base rate. Managing becomes the next dimension, because when you manage, it means that, okay, cool, I can deal with this because it's within my control. Overcoming means I get past it, I conquer it, and it now is in submission to me.
A huge part of that I've realized recently, and this has really come from therapy. This is directly been from CBT exposure therapy. That unless you confront the thing that's crushing you, you'll never ever be free.
Yeah.
And that's a terrifying thing for people, especially if you're quite conflict adverse and if you're like quite. I was raised to be quite polite, and I think I'm quite empathetic, if I can say that myself.
100%.
And I think I'm like just an empath. I just sort of feel everyone's pain. And I just like, but like I always sort of try and make others feel comfortable in the environment I'm in, and in doing that, I think I lost a lot of. I didn't feed the skill. I didn't feed that wolf within me to be able to be like, no, you've crossed the line. Until very recently. And it's something I'm trying to put into practice more. And when you turn that in on yourself on a psychological way, what are the things inside of us that we know we know we're being bullied by internally?
Wow.
We know we can feel it. We can feel it's holding us back in life in so many ways, and we're not confronting it. And I if you listen to this, I promise you, the only way to overcome it is to confront it. And you know that. Yeah. That's the crazy thing. Yeah. You actually know that.
Purpose and plan. I should say you really, Luke. You released something yesterday of ours.
Man.
Where we were talking, 100%. But I also like people to know that, we like to gas each other as well. No, 100%.
Very genuinely.
We always call it the left and the right hand.
Yeah.
Because I think when you can get to a place of mutual respect, appreciation, and understanding with someone you work with, or in whatever way you share that capacity in that relationship, it's liberating and it's regenerative. Does that make sense? Because you push each other to purpose. And I think that with what you were saying is that purpose and plan, being on purpose, means that there is an initiation of a plan.
Yes.
So sometimes some of what doesn't seem to make sense because we're only present in terms of knowledge of the now. Do you understand what I'm saying? And it's only like, imagine you have certain family members that will describe you when you were younger.
Yeah.
And you won't be aware of it. And sometimes those insights then lead the breadcrumbs to, so that's maybe how I got to this and to there.
100%.
Which then means that some of the things you go through, some of the stuff we went through, was a diversion tactic to get you off plan.
Whoa.
Because if you understood what the purpose was, there's nothing that would have knocked you off course. You remember, sometimes when our parents promised us something, and they're like, if you do this, 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 and this, we'll go and do that, that, and that.
Yeah.
Lucas, anything could happen. The world could end. And I'll be like, listen, world, you can't end until 4 p.m. this afternoon when mum takes me to thingy because I got to do this. And
I've
Lucas,
got ice cream in the day.
I would have fought Armageddon, my bro, and been like, oh no. If you planned at 4 p.m, you have to hold that to 4:45. Brother, I would have said, listen, bro.
Not today.
I would have been like, you man need to back up. Back up.
I'm going Pirate Pete's at 10.
Bro, do you understand? Why? Because I've already been seeded with what's to come. So because I know what's to come, it gives me the energy for the struggle of right now.
Brother. And that's exactly what I think I'm trying to get to with the confrontation thing, because like the child analogy there was perfect, because I remember when I was being told when I was a kid, I was too, what's the word, boisterous. I was too like sort of rough, and I remember being this like play group thing, right, when I was like 3. I really remember being that age as well, which is strange, but I really remember being like 2 and 3. It's weird. And I remember like in the soft play thing, having this big like soft toy and like throwing it at this other kid. Right?
Serious?
Yeah, just being like, and then getting kicked out of the playgroup, right? And I was like, oh, okay, so I can't be violent towards people. It's a good lesson learned. I can't be like
working use with soft toys.
But what the diversion you're talking about is interesting. That I think from that, not from that alone, obviously, but from a million of those examples, I sort of internalized, okay, any form of outward conflict or even aggression is a negative thing.
Yeah.
Never engage, never engage, never engage, no matter what the world is saying to you. And I believe in that on a kindness level. Kindness should always be the first and last thing that you think about. But sometimes being nice isn't being kind. Being nice is seeing someone on the train be racially abused or sexually assaulted and being like, I don't want to bother anyone, I don't get involved. That's being nice. Sometimes being kind is saying, yo, bruv, do you know what I mean? And like, I think that's something I'm really grappling with right now. That it's like, I need to engage in I need to nourish that part of myself more. Being, it's not just assertive, it's doing good. And that doesn't always mean we have 1 minute left, so I'm going to try and wrap this up real quick. But being good and being present aren't always the same thing as being nice, being a nice person.
A lot of the time, the seeds of good do not come into fruition in the presence of the one that sowed them. That's the difference between a good guy and a nice guy. A nice guy does what he needs to in the moment to keep the environment nice. A good guy will turn over the soil and bring uncomfortability to lay the seed, to visually disappear, so that in 3 months' time when you reap the harvest and he's nowhere to be seen, you remember and you go, so that's what he was doing.
On that note, thank you for listening to Spill. Big love.
Subscribe, guys.
Subscribe.
YouTube, Spotify,
TikTok, all that stuff. Love.